weapons if you want to, count each individually.
We're not going to go into what that is because we're recording the commentary now.
Oh shit, we're under 5. Did that get caught?
No, it did not.
Okay, good.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there. And we're going to let people wonder what you were talking about.
Oh, God.
Travis is going to be in for some additions to the chassis.
I'm going to have to take classes on political correctness.
Welcome to the Zero GT Series Monza race. This is a 40-minute enduro round. I know that's not much of an enduro round, but it's longer than our regular round. So
wait, this isn't the Borderlands 3 podcast?
No, it's not.
Oh, I've been fooled again.
With me, as always, is my heterosexual life mate, Byron Derksen.
What up, gangsters? And
with us is a man who needs sensitivity training, Travis Wallace.
Yeah, that's me.
We have a 20-car grid that's going to shrink to 18 cars at the start of the race. Unfortunately, 2 people had technical difficulties that rendered them unable to put in a... Well, one of them was unable to put in a qualifying lap even. The other one didn't put in a qualifying lap, but it is his custom to not put in a qualifying lap. So I'm not sure if that was a technical issue or just choice. Currently at the front of the packet is Mike Stockmill in his Mercedes, which is, of course, a car very suited to Monza. So you add Mike Stockmill, fastest motherfucker on the planet, with a Mercedes at Monza, and you've got yourself a pretty damn solid bet for a victory there. Paul Riccobeni, Darcy Parkinson, Gerardo Del Valle, and Ariel Zatoni round off the top 5. Gentlemen, your expectations heading into this race?
Probably Mike Stockmill finishes in the top 1.
It's a solid bet. Travis, your expectation?
Well, that's sealed. So I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna go with the man in 4th right now. I'm gonna say De Veo pulls out a 2nd place here.
Gerardo. Also, Travis's boy, Justin Swan, on the grid today, currently in 7th place. And he's brought that old-ass, broken-down Alpina to this race. So that's,
yeah, he shared some inside info with me right before I jumped in here. I think Byron's going to enjoy the way that he drives that car.
I anticipate all things good from the Squanch.
Let's see, the remainder of the grid rounded off by Simeon Naku, who just moved to the top 5 there in 4th place. We've also got Joe Racer. We got Bo Stamper, who's looking pretty good there in 9th place. Good job, Bo. Guillermo Martinez making his ESR debut. Dennis Meister, Tom LaBeouf returns from a long time away. Wayne Hutchison, Mike McGracken, Grant Patolo, Wesley Stokes is back, Rick Martel, and Johnny the Peach, John Pachea. Currently without a lap time, Rochelle Guerin and Mark Labzul.
So, where is Mr. Josiah Jerome in this race? Why don't I see his name up here?
Josiah unfortunately had a scheduling conflict and was unable to attend.
Scruffy gonna die the way he lived.
I'm not sure how Josiah lives.
Yeah, I just, every time somebody says schedule conflict, I only think of Scruffy.
Oh, that's what triggered that. I do remember that line now that you bring it up, but it didn't click immediately, I'll be honest with that.
Schedule conflict, and he turns the page in the nudie bag.
We've got a couple of Mercedeses, so they, I think, will be a strong car to look at here. Grant Patolo's Nissan's got a beastly engine in it, of course. Aside from that, you got some McLarens on the field. All of them are pretty near the back of the pack, so I don't think that car is particularly strong here. And you've got 2 Audis. One's at the front of the pack, the other is back in 15th place. That is Mike McGracken, who was pissed off with his lack of pace in qualifying because he was in the top 10 in practice and was somehow like almost a second slower in qualifying.
Did he forget to do the qualifying fuel?
I remembered to do the qualifying fuel. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer.
Is everything that's not an Audi technically an innie?
I mean, if we're going in the world where you got to be one or the other, yeah, I suppose. There you can see our grid. It's a Mercedes, followed by an Audi, followed by a Callaway Corvette, the rough Porsche, Mercedes, Nissan, Alpina, McLaren, and a Mercedes, rounding off the top 10. That is your grid. I don't think it changes in these last couple of seconds, but I don't know. Maybe someone pops up.
A little bit of everything in the top 10.
Speaking of weak qualifying runs, Wesley Stokes down in 16th position in the Iron Force by Ring Police Porsche. Very unusual place for him. He's usually a top front runner in this particular category. There is the Alpina, for those of you who are unaware of what it is. It's basically... So the story of Alpina is they're basically to BMW what Rough is to Porsche. So, fake BMW, basically. I think actually
it looks odd.
I think even Saturn actually has a BMW logo on the hood, so they didn't even take that off. Paul Riccobeni heading out there in his Audi.
Rice of Bean. Illegal pit exit.
Simeon Naku. I think there were a couple of illegal pit exits, if I am to be honest. Paul Riccobeni, championship leader coming in today. He has a car that doesn't really suit the Monza circuit. That Audi R8 is not the gruntiest of cars. I'm sure everyone watching this is very familiar with the Monza circuit. It is historic. If you've not raced on this circuit, I have a feeling that you've not really been doing racing sims very long. That's just all there is to that. But it's a very power-based track. A lot of straightaways, a lot of full throttle sections. Big engine cars are, generally speaking, going to be very strong here as long as they can handle the 3 big chicanes, which are really the only area where the Audi's going to have a particular advantage. I mean, everyone's pretty much running zero wing here. And, yeah, that's why I would say before this race starts, Mercedes', Nissans, Porsches, those are the cars to watch. Not really sure about the Alpina. It was surprisingly fast in a straight line. I remember it being slow in a straight line, but maybe the BOP adjustments have favored it a little bit.
Yeah, I figured they would have went back to more of the era that it was from as far as the aero package being, more of a straight line car, having less downforce.
Yeah, it was weird when I picked up the Alpina because I'm, of course, very familiar with the Alpina. I drove it for one season of Zero and going, this car is not accurate to what it is in real life. Like, because it was pretty slow in a straight line, and it was actually pretty good in the corners, and it really kind of should be the opposite.
Huh. So for this round, will it be on, is it double distance, or is it just a little longer than the standard races?
Double distance. Sprint rounds are 2 20-minute races. This is a 40-minute race.
So did you do anything as far as like the tire wear and fuel usage factor to kind of force a pit stop, shake things up, or is it just we had a vote on that regard, and it was voted that we would not do pit stops. So it is Gotcha.
It is actually lower tire wear than we use in the sprint race because to kind of facilitate it, the sprint race is using air quotes here, softer tires. If that makes any sense.
Gotcha.
So we do ×2 for the sprint races and ×1 for these races. Generally speaking, your loaded tire, usually the left front, is going to come in at about probably just yellow towards maybe the last 2-3 laps of the race. So you're pretty competitive throughout, unless you're Dean Reimers, and I apologize to Dean, but there's no way to fix your problem, sir. Get a wheel.
Loser! Stop using the Intellivision controller.
Well, that's the problem. Is he uses, I believe, it's an Xbox controller, and he will murder his tire. He murders his tires in sprint races. Like I don't even know.
If he's watching this, I would recommend going into the car setup and then the steering setting, and turning the I don't know what it's called, like the steering lock, whatever that's called in the wheels in the steering settings on the car, turning that down. Yeah. That way, whenever basically with the controller, you're full input or nothing. I mean, it's not much different than a button. So I would recommend turning that down so you're not, it's not simulating as tight of a tire turn, so you're not scrubbing the tires as bad. That might help.
Turn down for what?
Turn down for what? I will give Dean credit. He's probably the fastest controller user I've ever met. Because he's not a slow driver. His problem just is like he'll run kind of like top 10-ish, And then with about like 10 laps or like 5 laps to go, he just starts dropping back, like just throughout the entire end of it.
I think I just heard a challenge to the Forza community driver known as Race Boy. I think Mike just called him out.
I mean,
with the fastest controller user comment.
I'm happy to make it. Well, actually, you know who I'm forgetting is actually there's a fellow who raced like 2 rounds with us way back when, named Damian Mercer. Used him in the knew him from a while back in the if anyone was familiar with the Presto GP community, Race 07 Formula 3000 series. He was a controller user, and he was also very fast. Almost won a championship with a controller. It was stunning.
That's illegal.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Very impressive. I think he finished 3rd overall, and he wound up falling out of it in like the last 3 races because the dude who won it, Tim Brooks, was pretty much coming up big and swinging the stick. And shout out to Tim Brooks. He watches our videos sometimes. We try to get him to come out to ESR. I think he would be a guy to keep up.
I think he's just intimidated by my raw natural talent.
Now the problem is, of course, I was a lot slower back then, so I don't know where he would fit in the community. But he was as far ahead of me as Mike Stockmill is now.
Oh.
And we are off with Mike McGracken getting a terrible start there in the background.
You suck.
Didn't put it in gear.
That is usually helpful. How dare you hold the great Rick Martel back like that?
I did hold the great Rick Martel back like that.
Who was all suited up and special for this event, and you spoiled it all for him.
Here we go into the Monza chicane, and I just want to take a moment of pride here. There was no contact going through the Monza the first chicane.
I was gonna say it was tight, but nobody's been sent off yet.
Yeah, no one got sent off. Any contact was light. 2 of us did hop the curb to avoid contact, but otherwise, one of the cleanest runs through the first chicane of Monza I've actually seen in a long time. In the meantime, Mike Stockmill leads from front because, I mean, he's in a Mercedes and he's Mike Stockmill. I don't think there's really anything else to say about that. He's got Paul Riccobeni, Gerardo Delvale, Simeon Naku, and this man, Ariel Zattoni, on his tail. Darcy Parkinson in 6th place ahead of Grant Patolo. We welcome Grant to the grid for the 2nd race he's attended this season. He's, of course, ESR's Australian admin. Although he was belly aching that his Nissan doesn't feel as fast anymore, like most of the time, and that kind of just adds to my theory that they like have kind of transplanted the Nissan with the 2nd generation Nissan, because it handles a lot better and it doesn't have straight line speed anymore. It's a bit weird.
Did they perhaps put it on a ship and exile it to a foreign country?
They may have. Simeon Naku making his way around Gerardo Del Valle for 3rd position, although Del Valle does have the inside line and may be able to get this back, and indeed it does look like he will. Simeon desperately wanting to get past him, because you can see the top 2 are starting to get away, and of course Simeon and Paul Riccobeni are your championship contenders, and Simeon wants to tag on the back of that.
Simeon, as you've never seen on him before.
And Simeon goes around the outside of Del Valle. In behind them, we got a pretty good scrap going on between Zattoni, Parkinson, and Patolo. Everyone pretty close together. A little further back, creating the gap, is Guillermo Martinez, who's a little bit off the back of this in his McLaren. Doing surprisingly well. This track is not one that overly favors the McLaren, which is not particularly fast in a straight line. And have they changed it? Has anyone drove? Specifically, when I'm saying this, Travis, have you driven the McLaren lately? But it used to have kind of like shoddy brakes. I was never really understood that.
Oh, sure. Never. Don't ask me if I've driven the McLaren.
Have you driven the McLaren, Byron?
No.
The brakes are not outstanding. I will say that. The straight line speed also not outstanding, but it is fantastic in the corners. I love that car. Probably my favorite GT3 car in Raceroom. So balanced and great to drive.
Meantime, Darcy Parkinson looking up the inside of Ariel Zattoni, and into the top 5 he goes. Now I'm going to give you a little hint, and there it is. Darcy in this chicane did not mix very well. And
he is right in the line of traffic. Okay,
yep,
he got out.
Guillermo gets away. Bo Stamper gets around him. There's Dennis Meissner in the other Callaway. Your boy Justin Swan, 10th place in his Alpina. And,
Squanch.
What is going on?
Yeah. Dennis Meister getting up past Bo Stamper there into 8th position.
Stamper was all over the place.
Big shout out to Bo, though, having a fantastic run here.
Yeah, absolutely. Top 10.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. And the battle between the fake Porsche and the real Porsche continues for 3rd place. Naku versus Delvea.
Oh, Mike, apparently Evolution, the movie, is on Netflix now. I think we should record like a Riff Tracks type style commentary for it.
I can see that being a thing.
Are you speaking of like Mystery Science Theater type stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm in.
Yeah, buddy.
I love that show.
I have all copies of all episodes.
I did try watching the new one.
I didn't even bother trying.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I love Felicia Day, but it was not great.
I don't like her at all. As a matter of fact, as soon as I saw her on the cast list, I knew that was going to be the nail in the coffin. You could throw 100 Patton Oswalts at that, and it's not going to get off the ground.
Is Patton Oswalt like your version of the Urban Mac with Tex?
I don't know what that means, but yes.
Ariel Zatoni trying to track down the supposedly gutless Nissan Godzilla of Grant Patolo. You know who's missing from this grid and really would have shone pretty well? Ben Schwarry. No Nissan.
Probably. R.I.P. Ben Schwarry.
In the meantime, Dennis Meichner up into 7th place, getting past Guillermo Martinez.
Heard,
maybe it's
Ben
a Callaway
Schwarry's,
thing.
Ben Schwarry currently serving 5 to 10 upstate for just not being around. I don't know what he... Where is Ben?
I don't know.
God dang it, Benjamin.
As far as it could be a Callaway thing, I mean, Dennis looks a little bit rough there, but I think it was just because he was super late on the brakes overtaking Martinez. And he didn't have a moment this similar to Darcy in that particular corner, so... Tough call? I mean, there may be something to that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it handles the curves. As much as I like that car, and I've only driven it a couple of times, and it is phenomenal. But,
Bo Stamper and Justin Swan getting a little physical.
Hey, I'm squanching here.
You know who's on a bit of a charge here? Wesley Stokes. I talked about him having a weak qualifying P16. He's up to 9th.
I'd like to point out that Mike Stoffmeal does not even have a full 3.5 second lead yet.
Ariel Zatoni back into 5th place with a nifty little move down the inside into the Lesmos on the Nissan of Grant Patolo. And Bo Stamper has rejoined the track in 14th position, Justin Swan in 11th after their contact. Like it was probably more Bo's fault than Justin Swan's. I assume you would agree with that, Travis?
I don't know. It caught it at the very end, but it did look as if Bo was kind of pushing him into the chicane, so I think I would agree.
It does look like that might have been an overtake by Justin Swan, though, so... I don't know. I'd want to see the full thing before really apportioning the full-on blame.
I will accordingly declare both of them just as guilty and have the bow shot.
I do know that Justin did not report the incident, so he did not feel particularly aggrieved on the matter. And Grant Patolo's still trying to get around Ariel Zatoni. And Guillermo Martinez is dropping back in the McLaren. I had a feeling that this was unfortunately going to happen. That McLaren just not very strong at this track. Although I say this, and Tom LaBeouf is on the charge. He's up in 10th place now in his McLaren, so he's doing pretty well. Darcy Parkinson and Bo Stamper having a little bit of a battle. In fact, we tuned into it. I just noticed that they were changing spots on the standings there. And I would think if I'm Bo Stamper, I probably am going to let Darcy pass me here, just because we know Darcy's got front-end speed. He's coming back from a spin. I don't think you want to waste your tires and time fighting with him too much. A little surprised to see Wayne Hutchinson down in 16th place. That Mercedes I thought would be higher up. Wayne is a competent, quality driver. Apparently not feeling too much mojo here. Tom LaBeouf looking to make a move on Wesley Stokes. In the background is your boy Justin Swan, Travis. In that very tall Alpina.
It is towering over a lot of the other cars. I think the GTR might be the only one.
Yeah. Well, if you got the actual BMW in the field, that would be probably similar height. The M6, but of course, no M6s today. The only M6 runner we only have a couple of M6 runners in the series, and they are basically Mike O'Leary, who's not been around in a while, and of course Yevgeny Lazarenko. Darcy Parkinson going around the outside of Mike McGracken there into the third chicane, so he's back up into 13th position in the Callaway.
Little Callaway. Oh, sorry, that was Galloway.
Next on his list is Joe Racer's McLaren 650S, the Clearwater Dragon car. Tom LaBeouf still sticking on to the back of Wesley Stokes, unable to find a way around yet. Welcome back to the grid, Tom. Tom is, of course, a zero regular from a season ago, and we lost him in the transition to ESR, and we're happy to have him back.
Tom Prime Rib LaBeouf.
I was gonna say there better be some kind of beef reference in his nickname.
Well, come on, who are you dealing with here? It's either gonna be Prime Rib or Ground Chuck, depends on how he finishes. He'll have two nicknames depending on his finish on the day.
Just as a note, Grant Patolo has fallen way off of that battle for third place. He's about 7 seconds behind it now after being right with them. Don't know if that's probably suggests he made a mistake at some point, maybe in one of the chicane. Darcy Parkinson looking a little bit eager to get past Joe Racer here. Maybe a little bit too much. Next on his list will be the Alpina of Justin Swan, but he's got 12th place. Joe gives way.
95th place.
There, you can see the Callaway Corvette chasing down the BMW Alpina B6, to use its full name. We still have Ariel Zatoni sticking very close to the back of Gerardo Del Valle. These two constantly fighting with one another. Seemingly teammates and at the same time arch rivals. It's a bit of a weird dynamic.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Mr. Of the Valley to kick it into high gear here. He not looking like he's gonna live up to my prediction. He's going the wrong way.
Yeah, he lost out that battle with Simeon Nakun, and now looks like Ariel Zatoni's going to bag him for 4th place there. Tom LaBeouf and Wesley Stokes now on the tail of Guillermo Martinez. Wesley's in some kind of weird orange McLaren 650S bread sandwich here.
Sandwich.
Of course, last time we saw that McLaren 650S, it was driven by a certain Australian named Lachlan Nichols, and he was smashing my bumper. Guillermo Martinez apparently, I think, made a straight line the chicane there, gives up a spot to Wesley Stokes, and it's going to get worse for him here because
God.
Tom LaBeouf's going through, and so is Darcy Parkinson. I think Justin Swan might also fancy himself a little bit of a shot here heading into the second chicane. It looks like Guillermo will, for the time being, hold off Darcy Parkinson, Joe Racer, Mike McGracken, Bo Stamper, and Wayne Hutchinson in the background there. It looks like, I would say, Rick Martel and John Peach have kind of dropped off the pace, but otherwise I'd say everyone else is in play for points here. And Darcy is now going to get the job done on Guillermo Martinez, but keep in mind, we saw him spin at the chicane that we're coming up to. Can he hold it? Can he get it done? And, oh, Justin Swan! Got a little aggressive there. I think there was a little contact with Guillermo Martinez.
Yeah, that was a late dive.
And Guillermo Martinez will hang on to 11th position for now. Darcy up into the top 10 once again. Next on his list is Tom LaBeouf. Justin Swan going down the inside of Guillermo Martinez, so I spoke a little too soon. And he is going to get that move done into... This is Parabolica, right?
Yes.
I'm very good at remembering the names of turns. I just don't necessarily remember which ones they are. It's like I can name every turn at Bathurst. Just don't ask me to tell you what order they go in. And Darcy Parkinson going up the inside of Tom LaBeouf. Taking over 9th position there. And, yeah, your boy, Gerardo Del Valle, is kind of being dropped here. Don't know Don't know what else to say here, my friend, except for you may have made the wrong pick with the horses.
Yeah, this is like the long play commentator curse.
What you should have done is pick Mr. Peaches, and then he could have juicied his way all the way up to like 4th, and then burnt out spectacularly.
Not McLaren 650.
That sounds like you just don't have any faith whatsoever in the juiciness of the Peaches.
I'm just saying, I watch a lot of GT racing. Not the most of anyone in the ESR. I've seen some guys who watch, like, all the 24-hour events and stuff, and I cannot recall a solid McLaren result here at Monza. Oh, Grant Patolo very off in the background.
Oh, my.
The platypus has gone down a tributary.
Grant Patolo needed a little time on the beach. Battle continues here between Ariel Zatoni and Simeon Naku over the last podium spot. Of course, rounding off the top 10 is Delvale, Patolo, Meissner, Stokes, Parkinson, and LeBeuf. Looks like Justin Swan and Joe Racer having a little spat over 11th position there, further back. Mike McGracken is overtaken Guillermo Martinez, as is Bo Stamper, so I suspect Mr. Martinez has perhaps had an off-track excursion.
Is that like an adventure?
Yes. Very bumpy one.
You're saying he's like Bilbo Baggins?
Might be a little bit of Baggins.
Going on an adventure!
Tell you what, man. Tony is trying his damnedest to get around Simeon Naku, and it is not working for him, and it's allowing Dovea to catch up here.
Yeah, but you know what? Ariel got that taste of the podium at Zhuhai last time out, and I think he's got a taste for it now. And he's got to also know that the Mercedes, top car here. Like there are no Mustangs or Camaros here, so the Mercedes is good, and there are no Bentleys either. So there is an uncontested speed advantage for the Mercedes right now, and he's got to make use of it. He's got to get around here. And we've also talked about how him and Gerardo are, of course, pretty friendly, kind of teammatey. Maybe he's bringing Gerardo along for the ride.
Possibility.
Grant Patolo handling the third chicane there. Much better this time. Didn't end up with nearly as much sand. It's a very wide line through Parabolica by Zatoni. And there's a good little battle here. Justin Swan.
Somebody, yep.
Joe Racer off in the background. He's dropping back. It's Justin Swan, Mike McGracken in the Audi, and Bo Stamper in the Mercedes. There's a lot of green, actually, now that I look at it. They're at a good scrap for 11th position there. Martinez has fallen all the way back to 15th. Joe Racer falling out of the points down to 16th position. Yeah, Zatoni's still attacking Naku. He's lost him now. We'll see if he can catch up. And, I mean, he definitely will catch up in these straightaways because where the throttle is full, that Mercedes is borderline unstoppable.
Wondering if he's just pushing really hard, overheating his tires.
Looks like we had a bit of a thing with Bo Stamper. Mike McGracken, I think, was off as well there and has rejoined behind Justin Swan. Looks like Bo a little bit angry with himself, maybe. A little slow there, dropping down to 16th position and is out of the points.
But he has the sick bow skills.
He does.
Kenny, you fat lard, come get some dinner.
I would say definitely someone overcooked it heading into the first chicane. Don't know who. Well, I do know who, but we didn't see it, so I'm not going to tell.
That sounds like you, sir, are hiding government secrets, and I will not have that.
I've seen the steward's report. This is all there is to it.
And has said report been made public?
Yes, sir.
Well, then what the hell are you holding back for?
I'm trying not to spoil things.
Jeez.
Ariel Zatoni still on the tail of Simeon Naku with Gerardo Del Valle there. I'll tell you who's having a really lonely race right now is Grant Patolo. He's about 8 seconds behind this battle and about 6 seconds ahead of the next car.
He is the loneliest platypus.
Well, actually, you could argue Mike Stoffmill might be lonelier.
Well, victory is its own reward.
That's true.
He's probably out front listening to like Freeloading by Tom Petty.
Confirm
it
or
looks-
deny in the comments, Mr. Stop. Nope.
It looks like Zatoni has taken the advice that I didn't get to from the chicane incident last lap. I was gonna say it looked like he was overheating his tires, trying to overtake Naku there, and 'cause he was out braking himself. He kept running wide in the corners, and I was gonna tell him to lay back for a lap, let the tires cool off, and then go for it again. And it looks like that may have been what he did. He's closing the gap again.
Well, I think he's been closing up the gap pretty consistently, to be honest. I will say that everyone was having a lot of trouble with keeping heat in the tires just in general, so it was a bit of a problem. For example, I know that both of the Audis were complaining about having to run in like 66, 65 degrees in some of their tires, which is not ideal grip.
Yeah, about 25 degrees too cold there.
Yeah.
No, I thought you guys were going for angles. I thought this was a geometry quiz.
So yeah, tire temperature was definitely a concern in this particular race, as Zatoni getting a little bit wide there at Parabolica, but that's not far off of his normal line. As he continues to chase down Simeon Naku, championship leader of the Silver Cup, second in the overall championship right now. Trying to minimize the damage, because it looks like Paul Riccobeni's got his number to date. Paul running in a pretty comfortable second position. Which, to be honest, based on the way Paul was talking before this race, he's probably pretty happy with that, because he was thinking this was going to be a non-podium for him. The way that he was unable to really get a lot of speed out of his Audi.
Spoiler alert, I paid a guy to torpedo him late in the race. I didn't do that. I might have suggested there might have been payment, but didn't actually come through on it.
Didn't actually pay the man.
Unlike Martin, who he will definitely give you $50 if you let him pass.
Looks like Bo Stampers maybe had another moment, because he hit the moment earlier. Joe Racer and Guillermo Martinez fighting over 14th position. We ride on board with Mr. Martinez. For a change, Guillermo doesn't have a power discrepancy, because he, of course, is fighting with another McLaren 650S. Looks like Joe might have gone wide, and it's fallen off the back there. Techno Racing versus Clearwater Racing. Speaking of Clearwater, I had a bit of a weird one at work. I process credit applications for companies. I got a company called Clearstream, and then I got a company called Clearwell. This is going to be the theme of the day?
That seems, isn't Clearstream like a... Oh, that's Clear Channel, what I'm thinking about. Like, that sounds odd.
Ariel Zatoni, either backing off or he's lost ground, depending on if you buy Travis's story. And it's quite possible that he's letting the tires kind of come back to proper temperature. But as I said, these tires were running pretty cold on all the cars throughout this race.
What he's really doing is he's achieving optimal roundness for the tires.
That's also not. Although not yet in the GT3s. We don't have flat spots in the GT3s yet. Waiting for that though. That's gonna be interesting.
I demand they immediately move to octagonal tires.
That would be intriguing.
I'm intrigued.
Very, very bumpy.
That's the joke.
Mike Stop Mill Watch. The lead is now 15.2 seconds.
It's not too bad.
Movement in the top 10. Oh, well, no, I'm a liar there. Darcy Parkinson has climbed 2 more spots. He's taken Wesley Stokes and Dennis Leishman, and is catching up to Grant Patolo. So maybe a little Nissan versus Callaway action in the future.
Pretty big gap. I don't know how quick he is compared to Patullo here, but 16 minutes.
He's eating a couple
9 seconds.
He's eating a couple of tenths out pretty consistently. I don't know if that's gonna be a showdown, but there's still plenty of time left. Keep in mind, we're just a little over halfway done the race.
True.
Pressure continues from Zatoni, trying to turn it up on Simeon Naku, but yeah, I mean, if you're Simeon, you're all in on this defense. Like, you're not going to finish any higher than third unless tragedy strikes the top two.
Here we go.
You're all on the defense here, but it's could be interesting here heading into the first corner, the first chicane. This is a highly dangerous chicane. Ariel has the inside line, but can he hold it? The Porsche has fantastic brakes.
Oh!
And I think
Big
Simeon just showed
too.
Simeon just showed off those brakes, I think, taking the position back.
Absolutely.
And the Mercedes, of course, I don't know if I'd really say the Mercedes has bad brakes, but the fact that it's one of the highest horsepower engines in a straight line means it does need the most room to stop. And he looks like he's not given up yet. Still on the attack. Further back, got some bad news for you, Travis. Your boy, Justin Swan, has slipped from 11th to 15th position. Don't know what happened there.
Oh, it must have missed the moment he was speaking of.
He is still fighting. He's battling with Joe Racer over 14th now, but he has allowed Mike McGracken, Wayne Hutchinson, and Guillermo Martinez to get clear, and Racer is also clear. And we got a drive-through penalty for Bo Stamper, abusive track limits.
Wah wah. Bo stamped too hard on the pedal.
Perhaps he did.
But only here in the Eurobeat.
We pick up Mr. Justin Swan there, chasing down the two very short McLarens and his freakishly tall Alpina. I'm wondering what possessed him to pick this car, because he was saying how much of a Porsche 911 guy he is, and he picked an Alpina, which is not really similar in any way.
I think he was just excited that there was such a car selection in GT3.
There is.
He was just wanting to try something that he had never tried before.
Raceroom does have a fantastic GT3 selection of cars. Best, I think, in any game you're going to find.
Yeah, by far.
Amazing. I mean, there are some notable absences. The Lamborghini Huracan, the Ferrari, of course. I'm hoping we get the Acura at some point. They have had Honda cars in before, so I assume we'll get the Acura. Joe Racer making the move into the Parabolica into 13th position, but he goes a little bit wide, which has opened the door for Guillermo Martinez.
You're saying that the current lineup is in Acura?
Yes. Wayne Hutchinson up on the back of Mike McGracken. Hutchinson's coming alive here towards the end of the race. I was noting how it was a bit disappointing to see him running in 16th earlier. He's up to 11th, so he's having a pretty good time. The BWT Mucka Motorsports car, and Justin Swan fighting his way past Guillermo Martinez into 13th place. Looks like Wesley Stokes has hit the pit lane, interestingly enough. I wonder if he is taking damage, or if that is perhaps a case of, can't be a fuel miscalculation, can it, Travis?
I think it's a timing glitch, because he's dead on par with Bo Stamper.
Well, Bo is also in the pit serving his drive-through penalty.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But they're down to the 100,000th of a second there, it was identical.
All right, we'll have to keep an eye on that if Wesley Stokes is in the pit lane or what.
Unless he got did he get a drive-through when we missed it? I don't remember seeing it pop up.
I did not see a pop-up drive-through for him. We did see the one for Bo Stamper. In the meantime, Wayne Hutchinson with a superior straight-line car, but weaker in the chicanes to the Audi driven by Mike McGracken. They will be going to war here over 10th position.
Remember, if you're not 10th, you're last.
Maybe they came into the pits side by side, because now it's separated and he is still registering 17th. So, looking like that's what it was.
Yeah, it does look like some kind of a pit stop for Wesley Stokes.
And I wouldn't imagine that he miscalculated fuel by that much. I mean, in a 40-minute race, and you miscalculate it by 13 minutes?
Well, I mean, you could
That's
also it could also be that he realized that he's miscalculated the fuel and is going in now to try to give himself time to make a comeback. Maybe some fresh tires.
With that little time left, I would have tried to just stretch my fuel to the end. Unless maybe he dropped the fuel for qualifying and he forgot to put it back in.
Yeah, it depends on how short we're talking. I mean, if it's like single-digit liters, sure. But if it's like, I'm going to be like 15 liters short, That's something you might have to. That's something you're just gonna have to address with a pit stop.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But even changing tires, I don't think he's going to have any kind of advantage to come back.
No, tire wear is not terribly huge here. We were talking about how the inability to keep heating the tires was affecting pretty much all the cars, and as a result of that, you're going to end up with relatively long tire life. Yeah, as stated, these races have not really been decided by tire life, but. I mean, if you're going to drop down that far down the order, you might as well try something. So, I mean, I'd be tempted to make the tire swap.
Like, somebody was off to the inside there. Who was that?
Not sure. Oh, that's Wesley Stokes.
Oh, my God!
Yeah.
I don't think that Tony saw him.
I mean, he's technically out of the pit lane by then, so it's all legal, right?
So, I'm going to suggest Wesley's got some serious problems here going on. That's my guess.
Maybe he needs counseling.
Possibly a wheel issue?
Something's going on. Sounds like he's running at full power right there.
Looks like we've lost Bo Stamper from the race. He appears to not be leaving the pit lane, so...
Quitter.
Might have called it a day after picking up the drive-through penalty, and also it should be mentioned he picked up a Tier 2 penalty. That was on the stewards report. We were talking about the incident earlier on. He rear-ended Mike McGracken heading into the first chicane.
A likely story. I heard that McGracken was dressed provocatively and or asking for it.
I mean, if Mike McGracken's asking for it, I don't think you give it to him. Like, I think he's a hideous monster.
You're totally wrong, but I think possibly, you just put the little paper bag on there and you go to town.
Problem's not the face. It's the large body.
Well, maybe you need like a whole paper sack then.
Well, it looks like Wesley Stokes is back up to speed now. I wonder if that was maybe just him getting out of the way for blue flag purposes. Perhaps. Still a bit of odd behavior there.
I think the developer needs to put in random April Fool's flags. So if anybody happens to be running Raceroom on April Fools, they get like weird shit like a paisley or plaid flag.
I think they did that actually.
That would be awesome and bears repeating.
Here we go. Tony going for it again.
Ariel Zatoni going for it down the inside into the
Late
first
on the
chicane.
brakes.
We saw this before. Simeon was able to be later on
Got
the
it.
brakes. Kenny again. No!
He's
Ariel's
got
got
it.
it in front.
Finally.
Ariel Zatoni up onto the podium, looking for his second taste of that podium this season.
Podium, just look at him.
Meantime, Mike Stockmill. Can we say he has it in the bag? 22 seconds ahead right now.
I would
Maybe.
say it's pretty accurate.
Time for a pit stop.
Time for a sporting pit stop.
Not like
Heard
him to
that-
make a mistake, so...
I hear that Stoffmill's pit crew just has a whole new car ready to roll out and he just jumps from one to the other.
Well, we were talking earlier if Darcy Parkinson could catch Grant Patolo, and the answer appears to be more or less no. The gap is more or less stable at 9 seconds, but Patolo is catching up to Gerardo Del Vea. That could slow him down and bring Parkinson maybe back into this, or at least set up a good fight for over 5th place. Simi and Naku trying to come back at Ariel Zatoni. Would take some serious bravery to try to go side by side through that chicane. But we have seen Ariel get very wide at Parabolica. That's going to open up the inside line, I think, for Simeon if he can stay close.
I'm sorry, was this about peristalsis?
Parabolica.
Is that like throwing up but Metallica?
Yes.
I think it's back to your geometry statement.
You goddamn kids, your Pythagorean theorem?
It's a parabolic shape.
Grotesque. I prefer non-Euclidean.
Looks like
Just noticed something.
What
The
do you
shadows are completely different between those two shots of the front stretch. The sun moves every time the camera changes.
This is what it is.
Physics?
Yeah. Just pay attention next time. When it's
I
the
will.
overhead shot at the beginning of the straight, they're in a shadow. When it jumps to the turn one camera looking down the straight, there's no shadow on the track. The shadows are in a
shadow.
completely the complete 180-degree opposite direction. They're coming from the infield rather than the outside.
What physics lurks in the hearts of men, the shadow knows.
Yeah, I was hoping that Simeon was going to be able to make this a fight, but now they've got a little bit of separation. Looks like Zatoni may have the better of him.
I think his best hope was the Parabolica there, where Ariel tends to go wide, and when he wasn't able to take advantage of that, I mean, Ariel, relatively high ping driver, kind of prone to some mistakes as a result of that. It's not over, but I feel like Ariel's got the faster car and has been pretty much faster all day. It was just Ariel holding position in front of him, doing a good job in defense.
Cue Lenny Kravitz, it's not over till it's over.
Should be mentioned, they are catching up to Paul Riccobeni, but I'm wondering if that's just Paul Riccobeni kind of not able to track down Mike Stockmill, so he's kind of just cruising to second place.
Maybe it's just Paul Richard O'Bani toying with the rest of the field.
I mean,
I doubt it, because Simeon's one of the cars behind him. That's a championship rival right there.
It's like Robin Williams' comedy sketch about golf. It's like, fuck no! You give him fucking hope!
A little shriveled up stick. Oh god, that's a classic.
Not really sure why we were riding on board with Guillermo Martinez there. He's not really near anyone.
Guillermo del Toro Martinez.
Guillermo's had a bit of a rough race. Started in the top 10, down to 13th position. Mike McGracken, I think, is one of our higher climbers, up from 15th on the grid to 10th. Pretty solid run.
Goddamn social climbers.
Wayne Hutchinson also having a pretty good race there in 11th place.
And deep, bellowy V6 of the GTR of Patullo has run down Dovea now.
Yeah, he's putting on the pace here at the end.
I am so sorry, Dovea. I did not mean for this to happen to you.
you have casters cursed Gerardo hard.
Across the whole race.
Those of you at home, it's time to pay Travis not to declare you as his man to watch. Gerardo's been running good lap times. He's still relatively keeping for the battle for third. It's just Grant has turned up the wick here towards the end of the race and found some pace that honestly he didn't have at the start, it seems.
I think it looks like he's not using the gravel as much, and that may be to his benefit.
That would probably be to his benefit. The Nissan is not known for particularly great traction. It should be mentioned that since Grant caught up to the back of Gerardo, I mean, it's a little too late now. We got 3.5 minutes left, but Darcy has taken 2 seconds off in like the last 2 laps. So, he's on a bit of a charge. I think it just may be too little too late, though.
See? The shadow's gone. I just had to point that out.
Yeah, I saw it.
Gone. The shadow. I think we should get somebody involved that I can nickname the Shadow.
I mean, Patillo's car's black.
Maybe literally everybody will become known as the Shadow.
I mean, Grant does have a very shadowy car there, very black.
I think next commentary, everybody will be nicknamed the Pitbull.
Ah.
And
MMA nicknames. You gotta throw a couple of assassins in there.
No, that'll be the one after. We'll do a running theme.
Are we gonna do like the objective assassins, like the babyface assassin, young assassin, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we could add that. We could remember they got like the Polish Pitbull and the assassinating Pitbull and the Irish Pitbull and the
little Pitbull,
the German Pitbull, all those things. And if you don't follow through on my motif, I will pull your nose hairs out.
You will do nothing.
You're too short to stop me.
I'm not that short.
Can't even reach.
Okay, you realize I grew up fighting Zeke, and he's about as tall as you are.
I'll put my palm on your forehead, I will.
Used to fighting taller guys. Grant Patolo, he's got 2 minutes to go to try to get the job done here on Gerardo Del Vea. Gerardo going defensive into Parabolica.
The over-under here.
Uh-huh.
I can't get it.
It's going into reverse peristalsis.
We got 2 good battles going on here for the top 5.
There's a couple of battles further back. Still, McCracken is scrapping with Hutchinson over 10th place. And,
Here he comes. Oh no!
And we
Don't
switch.
cut.
We switch over to the battle for third.
Damn it!
And Patolo gets the job done, but we didn't get to see it on camera. Very disappointing. We've got a good battle going over 10th. Oh well, Gerardo fighting back.
They're coming back.
And there's also a little bit of a fight going on for 8th place, too. Tom LaBeouf has been eating into the advantage Dennis Meister's had over him for the last couple laps.
I'm enjoying the Canadian contingent literally trying to hold the Spanish man down.
Not to be offensive to Mr. Guillermo Martinez, but I feel like he kind of was the one that held himself down with a couple of mistakes.
Oh, you would say that, elitist.
I would. I tell it like it is, sir. Checking on the Darcy Parkinson gap, he's taken another 2 seconds out of Grant Patolo and Gerardo Delvey. So, I mean, I feel it's too little, too late. But Darcy on a bit of a charge here at the end of the race.
Here we go. It's gonna be Naku's last chance.
Might I recommend him?
Oh no, wait.
At the beginning
no,
of the race.
They'll have one more.
We'll have one more lap after this. That is
Forgot how far out Stoffmill is.
Yeah. 28.3 seconds in the lead.
Yeah, he's already well into the next lap.
So Simeon has got a Porsche Confederate there, and Rick Martel. Rick just getting out of the way, doing the sporting thing. And Ariel's Tony. We'd like to congratulate Rick Martel on his entry into the second season of the Academy.
Oh, no, I thought you were going to say
outside.
Spectacular Hoodie.
Simeon, well, Spectacular Hoodie goes without saying.
No,
Contact!
This ain't no answer sketch.
Little physicality there between the Argentine and the Moldovan.
Tony is going to have a preferred line, though. Hitting the chicane up here.
He's going to have the inside for the chicane, but the chicanes are the strong spoot of the Porsche.
Oh.
Simeon gets the job done, slams the door in his face. Ariel trying to go up the inside again. Grant Patolo and Gerardo Delvey are coming on strong, but I don't think they really are going to factor into this fight for the podium. I think this is a two-man fight. Ariel looking to make the move again.
Podium.
Yeah. They got a taste for it.
Nothing's separating them.
Nothing at all, and here we go into the third chicane. Ariel going for the inside line, but we know that Porsche is strong into the chicanes. And the job is done again for Simeon Naku. The last chance is going to be Parabolica.
Oh, like the Tony touched the grass there.
Yeah, a little bit of a touch of the grass there. Grant Patolo, I think, is secured 5th place. He's got the advantage over Gerardo. Darcy Parkinson in the background. He's brought that gap down to 4 seconds.
Yeah, he's made up a lot of ground. Good run from
Made
him.
a ton of ground. It's going to be a little too late, though, for him.
Don't
Here
think
we
the
go.
Tony's going to get it done. It's going to be
Tony
close.
get
Oh, he is.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
Oh, he's got, yeah.
We go
he's
to a battle between Wayne Hutchinson and Mike McRacken over 10th place. Simeon Naku losing the podium and losing 4th place.
I'm just going to warn you, Wayne. This Mike guy, he's the master of the reverse pit.
The reverse pit maneuver?
Or as we like to call it in the business, the booty check.
So just to quickly sum it up, Simeon ran out of gas. That was what happened.
I was going to say that. I've never seen a run like that coming out of Parabolica.
Well, he lost a spot to Patolo as well. He slipped to 5th.
Yeah.
And I did warn him before the start of the race when he was saying, I'm going to try and do this on, like, I think he said 76 liters of fuel. I'm like, I'm running 82. You might want to rethink that. And Mike McRacken going to hang on for 10th place ahead of Wayne Hutchinson. The debutante, Guillermo Martinez, bringing it home in 12th position.
You really like that word. It's pretty funny.
I like that word.
Listen, just because you're on Pornhub right now.
There is the out of gas car of Simeon Naku, by the way, just past the start finish line. And here's the damaged car of Joe Racer, bringing it home in 13th position. There is your final results. Mike Stoppmill, your winner from Paul Riccobeni, who will extend his championship lead over Simeon Naku. Ariel Zatoni on the podium. Grant Patolo's best result of the season in 4th. Gerardo Del Valle, Darcy Parkinson, Dennis Meister, Tom LeBuff, Mike McRacken, Wayne Hutchinson, Guillermo Martinez, Joe Racer, Justin Swan, another debutant, and Rick Martel, your point-scoring finishers. Disappointing race there for Bo Stamper. He looked good in the early going, and of course Wesley Stokes had some weird things happen that derailed a good run for him as well. And of course a DNS for Mark Clapp Zool, who had technical problems on the line. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the race, and do you have any final thoughts you would like to impart to the people?
Eat more fiber.
Make sure you have enough fuel.
It's good advice. Championship is now officially Paul Riccobeni leading Simeon Naku 283 to 248.
Correct.
I believe that is the largest gap we've had actually in a bit. So things are coming up a little bit in the favor of Mr. Riccobeni heading down the final stretch.
We got a gun show coming up here next week in my hometown. Let me know what gun I should buy in the comments below.
Do that.